Here we go. Okay, so today we are going to be focusing on the pose Chaturanga Dandasana, which is also called four-limb staff pose. It's typically in American yoga, it's most frequently seen as a transition pose between plank pose and either cobra or upward facing dog. Very rarely is it anything that is kind of held as its own pose. So when we break it down today and kind of workshop that pose, it's probably going to feel pretty intense. The thing to be aware of with Chaturanga Dandasana is, although it feels like an upper body pose and tends to put quite a bit of tension and pressure on shoulders, upper arms, upper back, it's intended and it's essentially supposed to be a core pose. So really engaging the core and like imagining pulling that tailbone down towards the heels to really help support that low back and engage the bottom rib to the top of the hip point that I talk about all the time. Those are components that really can help to, first of all, eliminate too much strain in the shoulder, which we want to be really careful with this joint. It's an amazing joint that gives us a lot of mobility and movement, but it also has some tendencies that can be a little bit overworked. So we want to be careful with that. So since we're going to be focusing on that pose and talking about our shoulders is our focus body part today. So we'll be doing quite a bit of shoulder openers, which is going to also reflect and be feeling a little bit similar to last week when we did a lot of chest and upper back openers. They're all kind of connected. So our centering pose for today that I'm going to recommend is prone shavasana. I will be facing with my head towards where what will eventually be the top of my mat on my belly. Now that's not going to be a fit for everyone. We talk about that when we've gone into this pose for centering before. So if that's the case for you, go ahead and either choose a seated pose or do a supine shavasana laying on your back. The warm-up also, though, is on the stomach because we're trying to open up the shoulders a little bit more. So again, listen to your body, do what your body asks of you, and I'll offer modifications, of course. So let's take a moment and get into your centering position. If you are going to choose prone shavasana, your options are stacking your hands like pancakes, lowering the forehead to the back of the hands, or lowering one cheek to the mat. If you do that, I will give you a cue about halfway through to switch to the other side. Settling in, whichever position you're in, just noticing and feeling the sensations of the earth supporting your body. Whatever parts of the body are touching the ground, let those parts of the body just soften and melt into the foundation of the ground. Taking some lengthened inhales and exhales, maybe with the lips slightly sealed, if that's available to you. And if it's comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. If you have chosen to have one cheek down, go ahead and lift the head and switch to the other side. A great benefit to centering on your belly is to feel the sensation of the belly expanding against the floor on the inhale. Helping to bring awareness to just how long and how deep you're bringing the breath into the body. And then also Noticing and being aware of the belly. Trying to pull away from the floor at the very end of the exhale. Feeling the breath move in. And noticing any sensations or messages that the body is sending you from any joints, muscles, areas of the body. And then as we move forward through the rest of the class, that you honor those messages and bring grace to the body parts that need maybe just a little extra attention today. As we move into the warm-up, you are welcome to continue to work with your eyes closed if that's comfortable. If you are not laying on your belly, if you're seated or on your back, I'll give you a couple cues for as we start to warm up the shoulders. But first, if you are on your belly, on an inhale, bring the hands up so you can press them into the floor and lift the head. And then start to bring the forearms and the elbows in front of you. So you're coming into Sphinx pose just for a transition. You're going to take the right hand and thread it through the gap underneath your left upper arm and start to inch those fingers over to the left side until you can lay the outside of the right shoulder down on the mat, and then start to reach the left hand forward. And then from there, you can either lower the forehead or maybe the right cheek or left cheek down to the floor and start to feel the sensation of the shoulder and upper back opening up. Now, if you are seated or laying down, you can do this same movement just by pulling the right arm across the chest and pulling it in with the left forearm. If you are feeling plenty enough sensation right here with just the half knot, it's called, stay here. If you feel like you can use a little bit more sensation opening up that shoulder, you're going to start to bring the left arm across the chest and inch it out to the right side. So now you have this knot with your upper arms underneath your chest. Tuck the toes into the mat, and whatever amount that your shoulders and body need, you're going to just inch the torso over the shoulders and upper arms just a little bit more, and then lower the forehead down to the mat, breathing into the sensations of the shoulders and the upper back. Take one more breath here. Inhale to float the head up. Press the mat away to lift the torso and then uncross the arms. Now you have that gap underneath your right upper arm. You're just going to slide the left hand through, inch it over to the right side, and eventually slide that right arm up, and then lower the head in whichever variation that works for you. And if you're seated or on your back, you're just going to switch arms and pull the left arm across, and then hold it in with the right forearm. Now, depending on however much sensation you're feeling in that left shoulder, you might want to stay with just the left arm across. But if you try that on the other side and you think that you have enough space, you might want to go into full knot by bringing that right arm over to the left side, tucking the toes in, inching the torso up and over the upper arms and shoulders, and then lowering the forehead down. And breathe. Inhaling to lift the forehead, press the floor away, lift up the chest. And then this time, sliding the right arm straight out from the shoulder so the hand is at shoulder height. Lowering the right cheek down to the mat, and then using the left hand as leverage, start to just shift your torso and body over to the right any amount. Now, if you just barely start to move over and you feel plenty enough sensation on the front of that right shoulder, then don't push it. However, if you need more sensation, you may roll all the way over to the side body, maybe even lifting that left leg behind the right, planting the foot on the floor. And then breathe into the front of the shoulder here. Exhale to release it back. Uncross the legs if they're crossed. Slide that left arm out to the left side. Lower the cheek down to the floor. And then start to push the right hand into the floor to just get a little bit of leverage, moving your body over to the left, any amount. Does not need to be all the way over onto your side. You do not need to bring that right foot back behind the left leg. Just any amount that you start to feel that you need to open up that right or the left shoulder. And then as you exhale, slide all the way back to center. Bringing the elbows underneath the shoulders, fingertips pointing straight out in front of you. And then energetically pull the sternum towards the wall in front of you as you pull the tail down towards the heels. You are welcome to stay right here, or you can tuck the toes into the mat and then start to push the floor away, lifting up the hips. Hands come where the elbows were, and you come right into tabletop. Take an inhale and a full exhale, and think about aligning the spine from the crown of the head to the tail. On your next inhale, sliding the right hand forward, keeping it on the floor to begin, and then exhaling to extend the left leg back. You can stay right here. On your next inhale, maybe you float them up so the hand is shoulder height, heel is hip height, and you can stay right there. Or you can bring some dynamic movement into this by taking an inhale to prepare, and then exhale, tuck the elbow towards the knee underneath you, rounding up the spine, and then inhale and extend. Exhale and crunch it together. Inhale and extend. One more time, crunch it together, and then inhale and extend. Holding here, or you can lower the limbs down to the floor if you've had enough. Otherwise, you're going to inhale and bring that left leg over to the left side, right arm out to the right, and really fire up those obliques. I've already warned that this is taking some core strength here to go through this movement. Coming back to center with the limbs, lowering that left leg down so that the toes are tucked into the mat and the leg is extended. And then press the heel back as if you're opening up the Achilles and the gastrocnemius, the calf muscles. And then inhale, right arm up to the right side, rotate the wrist, one direction then the other, and perhaps maybe rotate the arm, one direction, just a couple times around, and then the other direction. And then exhaling, planting that hand underneath the shoulders, lowering the knee down to the floor. Inhaling, left hand reaches front. Exhaling, right leg reaches back. Staying right there, or inhaling to float the limbs up. And then exhaling, crunch it together underneath you. Inhale and extend. Exhale and crunch. Inhale, extend. One more time and crunch. Inhale, extend. And then exhale, left hand to the left side, right heel out to the right side. Fire up the obliques. Feel the core working. Inhale back to center. Exhale the right toes down. Press that heel to the wall behind you, keeping the leg extended. And then reach the left arm up. Circle the wrist. And reverse. Circle the shoulder. Just a couple rounds, one direction, and then maybe move it the other direction. Exhaling, bringing knee and hand down to the floor. Reach those hands forward. Exhale, lower the elbows, and we'll repeat that puppy dog pose or melting heart that we did last week. Full inhale and exhale here. Inhale to lift the head, slide the hands back into starfish position, really plugging in the base knuckle and the fingertips. Elbow creases facing each other, tuck the toes into the mat, and then as you pull the shoulder blades open and wide, and then down towards the back waist, take an inhale here. Exhale, start to float the knees off, keeping the knees bent any amount as you reach the seat and the tailbone up towards the ceiling, lengthening the spine. Remembering that the knees never need to come fully straight and the heels never need to touch the floor as long as you're lengthening the spine and engaging the core, opening up along the back side of the body. Take 2 full cycles of breath here. And then inhale, bring the gaze to the hands. Step walk or take a light hop, bringing the toes back behind the palms. Knees again, soft. As you exhale, waterfall the torso over the legs into forward fold. Inhale the hands to the shins and extend the spine long. Exhale and fold. Pressing into the feet. Inhale, reach the torso, lift the arms, bring them together, and then exhale the right hand between the shoulder blades or to the back of the neck. Inhale, circle the left hand up behind you. Maybe the fingertips touch, maybe they don't, maybe the left hand just stays at the back waist. That's fine too. Whichever position the hands are in, you're going to take an inhale here, press into your right foot as you exhale and side bend over to your left. Maybe the gaze comes up and underneath the right upper arm. Take one more breath here. And then inhale, release the hands, reach the arms up. This time the left hand comes back behind the shoulder blades or between the shoulder blades or behind the neck. Maybe the right hand reaches across the back waist, or maybe the right hand reaches up to the left fingertips. Inhale to prepare, press into your left foot as you exhale, side bend over to the right. Maybe the gaze comes under the left upper arm. And then inhale, release the grip, reach the hands up. Exhale those hands through heart center side. Slowly bring the torso down into a forward fold. Inhale and half lift, hands to the shins. And then exhale, bring your nice wide hand, starfish hands down to the mat. And then step or walk your feet back towards the back edge of your mat. You can keep the knees off, or maybe you lower your knees down for your first plank pose. We're going to hold here just for a breath or two, starting to fire up that core, feeling the engagement of the shoulder blades moving down towards the back waist, and the shoulder blades opening up like wings towards the side body. Elbow creases facing each other. Now, if you have your knees off the mat, I'm going to encourage everyone for this first round to lower the knees down to the floor and then untuck the toes. So, Chaturanga Dandasana. What we're going to do is start to pull those shoulder blades down again, re-engage the core, bottom ribs reaching down towards the top of the pelvis, and then tailbone, even though our knees are down, think about the tailbone energetically pulling down towards the heels. Now with that core engagement, on an inhale to prepare, then exhale, start to squeeze the upper arms into the rib cage as you lower the shoulders down to about elbow height. Then pause here for just a breath. Really fire up that core. And then exhale, release all the way down to the floor. Now, next inhale, tuck the toes into the mat, press the mat away, come back up into tabletop. We're going to repeat one more time. You can keep the knees down again, just like we just did, or stepping the feet back, knees off the mat, coming into full plank. We'll try it from here. Thinking again, like we talked about last week, your hands are your foundation, just like your feet would be in a standing pose. So think about the hands, engage that core, pull the shoulders down and back, tailbone towards the heels, take an inhale to prepare, exhale, lower down halfway, shoulders about equal to the elbows, take a breath, and then exhale, lower down. Now inhale, either low cobra, extending the arms up into high cobra, or tucking the toes into the mat, pulling the hips closer towards the wrist, bringing the sternum through the upper arms for upward facing dog as the heels pull back to the wall. Inhale here, exhale, float up, lift the seat to the ceiling, downward facing dog. Now, as we flow through our standing sequence today, there will be a lot of big transitions. Please note that I'll give you modifications. You take what works best for you. Inhaling, release the right foot. Maybe the toes just kickstand down on the floor and they stay here throughout the next few breaths. Otherwise, right heel can come up to the hip or right toes up towards the ceiling, three-legged dog. Take an inhale to prepare. Exhale, pull the right knee up to the right elbow. Inhale, toe up to the ceiling. Exhale, maybe you repeat what we did before, or you bring that right knee over to the left elbow. Inhale and lift. Exhale, repeat one of those, or bring the knee towards the nose. Inhale and lift. And then the last one, exhale, step that right foot all the way up to the hands. Inhale, push off the back foot, step it all the way up, so you're right back into a forward fold. Let the head hang heavy. As you start to bend the knees, lower the seat. So maybe you're squeezing the legs together as one leg as your hands and forearms come up to the thighs, right up into fierce pose. You can stay right here, or you can inhale, float the chest up. And then your hands can stay on the thighs, your hands can stay at heart center, or if you'd like to add in a one more shoulder opener, you're going to reach your arms out like wings, and then exhale, cross them in front of you so that the left elbow lands on top of the right. And then from there, you can either bring opposite hands to opposite shoulders, or maybe you can intertwine the forearms, bringing the fingertips, the right fingertips to the left palm in eagle arms. If you're in eagle arms, you're going to lift the elbows up to about chin height and then move the hands away from the forehead. One more breath here. And then exhale, start to hinge forward, bringing those elbows towards the knees. You can stay right here, or if it's appropriate for you, maybe you bring those elbows to the outside of the right knee, coming into a twisted chair pose. Take an inhale, press into your right foot. Exhale, start to release the left foot. You can either lower your hands down to the floor for support and balance, or step all the way back, coming into a twisted lunge. Now, if you are done with the whole twisted up arms thing, you can do your twisted lunge with your hands at heart center, or maybe you just reach the left hand over to the right thigh. Last breath here. And then exhale, unwind all of that. Bring both hands inside the right foot. Start to walk the right foot over to the right side of the mat. Lower the hands down, lizard pose. You are welcome to stay here, or you can lower the back knee down to the floor. You are welcome to keep your hands where they are, or if you would like to just get into the shoulders a little bit more and kind of warm up or loosen up the wrists, walk the fingertips back until they're about parallel to the back of the right heel. Inhale to prepare, and then as you exhale, Chaturanga arms, meaning you're going to bend at the elbow and then rest your torso on your upper arms. And then inhale and push up. Now, the next variation that I'm going to give you, you may transition right now by pressing into your hands and then just swinging that right leg all the way back behind to meet the left in a modified plank. If you would like a little bit more of a core challenge, You're going to lower now down to your forearms, coming into a deeper lizard pose. Inhale to press your toes, back toes into the mat, float up your back knee. And then now from here, we're going to transition into that forearm plank. So you're going to release the right foot and then step it all the way back, coming into a forearm plank. That's why it's not necessarily a fit for everyone. So if you want to go through modified plank first, and then lower down to forearm plank, either with knees on or off the ground, that's your next variation. Take one more breath here. Now, pressing the palms down on the floor. On an exhale, lift the hips, step the feet in, and we're coming into dolphin pose. Holding here just for a breath. And then inhaling, pressing into the palms, walking them back a step, coming back into downward facing dog. Now, for those that have flip the dog or wild thing in their practice, we're going to offer that as your next option. If you don't prefer to take that, your variation is tabletop, and then just extending that left leg either back with the toes on the ground or coming back into that one-legged tabletop. If you would like flip the dog, you're going to inhale, reach that right foot up, and then start to bend the knee so that the knee comes up towards the ceiling. The weight of that right foot pulling you all the way back and around, floating the hips up towards the ceiling, reaching the right arm up. Hold for a breath. Exhale to bring the gaze back to the floor. Reach that right arm around, lifting that right leg back up. And then everyone, tabletop or down dog, we're going to exhale and lower that right knee down to the center of the mat. Bring that right hand to the center of the mat and exhale, turn so that you're facing the left side of the mat with the right toes out back behind you. You can stay right here or inhale to push the mat away, and you're going to extend those arms straight out from the shoulders. Coming into gate pose, take an inhale here, exhale, lowering the left hand down to the left thigh, reaching the right arm up, and then over. All the spaces between the ribs on the right side of the body opening, receiving the oxygen. Inhale to lift the left arm up to meet the right. And then exhale, bring that right hand down to the mat as you reach the left arm up. Modified side plank. You are welcome to stay right here. If you would like a little bit more of a challenge, you're going to press into your right hand and into your left foot. Slide that right foot underneath the left. Full side plank. If you choose, maybe you release and come into fallen tree pose, moving the left foot up towards the right calf or right thigh. If you've done that, release the foot back down. Exhale to lower the left hand down to the mat and pivot around into full plank or modified plank. Taking a breath here to prepare, and then exhale. Let's float through down one chaturanga, and then inhale, one push-up. Take an inhale here, exhale, back to downward facing dog. One last transition. Inhale to release the right foot. Step it all the way up to the right hand. Lift the hips up enough so you have space to pivot your left foot down so it's pointing out at about 10 o'clock on a clock face. Inhale the hands to the hips. Float the torso up. Encouraging the hips to square towards the front as you exhale and bring that right knee towards the second and third toe. Tailbone reaches down towards the floor, keeping the weight even between your baby toe ball mound, big toe ball mound, and the back of your back heel. Your hands can stay on your hips, or you can release them, interlace the hands behind you, open up that chest, lifting the sternum towards the ceiling, and then exhale. bow forward. You can pause when you get so that your shoulders are about hip height, or maybe it's available for you to start bringing that right shoulder inside the right knee. Inhale to lift the torso up, release the grasp with the hands, bring the hands up in front of you, pivot to the ball mound of your back foot, take a big inhale, push off that back foot, bring that knee up, or maybe you kickstand the toes down next to the right foot. We're going to bring the hands together at heart center. You can stay right here, or you can inhale, cross the left ankle over the right knee, coming into a balancing figure 4 pose. Remember, if you have a wall near you, if balancing is a challenge, use that wall. It's still good to help build the strength of the ankles and the supporting foot. You're welcome to stay right here, or inhale to broaden your arms out like wings. Exhale to slide the left foot down, so now the toes are kickstand on the outside of the right foot. Inhale to bring those arms across the front. This time, you are going to be crossing the right elbow over the left, and you can either grasp opposite shoulders or intertwine those forearms to bring the palms together, elbows up to about chin height as you move the hands away from the forehead. This is a variation of eagle pose. If you would like to go into a little bit more of a full balance pose, you're going to slide that left knee up, cross it over the right knee. Maybe you tuck those left toes behind the right calf, and then start to lower the seat down for eagle pose. Eagle pose is very much about our gaze, our vision, our drishti. So find a gaze point, breathe and quiet your mind. Last breath. Exhale, unwind all of that, come back up, standing at the top of your mat. You can put your hands at your hips, maybe your hands facing forward in equal standing pose, maybe your hands at heart center. Maybe you close your eyes if that would feel good for a moment to resettle your nervous system. Focus on the breath. Inhale to blink the eyes open. Exhale to release the hands. And then inhale, reach the arms up to the ceiling. This time you're going to exhale, left hand comes back behind the shoulder blades or behind the neck. Right hand circles down and around, and then you reach those right fingertips up towards the left fingertips, or right forearm across the back waist. Take an inhale, you're going to press firmly into your left foot as you exhale and side bend over to your right. Gaze under the left upper arm. Inhale, reach that left elbow up. Exhale to release the grip with the hands. And then inhale, and we'll repeat that on the other side. This time the right hand comes behind the neck or between the shoulder blades. Left arm reaches up and either grasping fingertips or forearm across the back waist. Inhale, press into your right foot. Exhale, side bend over to the left. Gaze under the upper arm. And then inhale, reach that elbow up. Bring the arms up. Exhale, bring those hands through heart center, hinging from the hips and forward fold. Release tension out of the back of the neck. Inhale and half lift. Exhale, deep bend in the knees. Bring those hands down to the mat, and you can do a light hop back or step or walk your feet all the way towards the back of the mat, either full plank or lower the knees down into modified plank. This time we'll just do one Chaturanga version. We will hold it for 2 cycles of breath. So knees down or knees up, engage that core. Really think about pulling the top of the pelvis towards that bottom rib, pull the tailbone down towards the heels, and then think about those shoulder blades. Take an inhale. As you exhale, bend from the elbows, pause at halfway point, Breathe. And then last exhale, lower all the way down. Release the shoulders, either low cobra, extending those arms coming up into high cobra, or sliding the palms back, pulling the hips forward, floating the knees and the thighs off the mat in upward facing dog. And then exhale, pull the hips up, downward facing dog. Take 2 cycles of breath here. Opening up the spine. Inhaling to release the left foot. Again, just like the other side, staying right here with the toes kickstand down, totally fine. If you'd like, maybe you float it up so heel is hip height, or maybe you reach the toes to the ceiling. One is not better than the other, but you do want to keep equal weight in your palms and try to keep your shoulders and collarbones parallel to the floor. Inhale here. Exhale, left knee to left elbow. Inhale and up. As you exhale, you can repeat that, or you can bring the left knee to the right elbow. Inhale, reach up. You can repeat one of those, or you can exhale, pull the knee to the nose. Inhale and up. And then the last one, we'll bring that left foot all the way up to center of the hands. Inhale to lift the hips and then push out that back foot. Step the right foot forward and exhale into forward fold. Inhale, start to float the torso. Maybe you squeeze the legs together as one leg as you bring the forearms up across the thighs, coming into your version of fierce pose. That means you can stay right here, or maybe you'll float the torso up, making sure that you can see the toes behind the knees, making sure that you can feel that tailbone pulling down towards the floor as you engage the core. If you choose, adding on another shoulder opener, you're going to open your wings out to the side. As you exhale, bring the arms in front. Again, this time you're going to cross right on top of left, either opposite hands to the shoulders, or you intertwine. Bring the elbows up to chin, hands away from the forehead. Next variation, if you choose to take it, we're going to exhale, hinge forward, bringing those elbows towards the thighs. If it's appropriate in your back and you would like to try the twist, you'll bring the elbows to the outside of the left knee, looking over towards the left side. If that's not appropriate, you're just going to lower the hands down to the floor to assist you as you inhale to float the right foot up. Take a big step to the back of your mat, and you're twisting in a twisted lunge. Again, if the twist isn't appropriate, you're just right here in a low lunge. Eventually, everyone will untwist and walk both hands inside the left foot. Gently toe heel your foot over to the left side of the mat. Breathe here, lifting that right hip up in space. If you would like a little bit more for your shoulders and wrists, walking those hands back parallel to the back edge of the left heel, and then exhaling, lowering that torso down so you're resting it on the upper arms in Chaturanga arms. If you're there, inhale to push up, walk the hands back forward again. And then remember now, this is where we come into that really big transition. So variations are lowering that back knee down. You have your hands here for support. You're just going to release that left foot and step it back around behind you. If you'd like a little bit more of a challenge, you're going to lower down to your forearms right here, keeping that back knee off the mat or lowering it down, either way. Taking an inhale, core is engaged. Release that left foot, slide it all the way back around behind you, forearm plank. Now, if you stepped your foot back into more of a tabletop variation, you can stay in modified plank or come down to forearm, modified plank with the knees down. Last breath here. And then exhale, lift the hips. Maybe you slide those elbows back just a little bit, coming into dolphin pose. Really lifting the seat towards the ceiling, engaging the core, pulling those shoulder blades down towards the back waist. On your next inhale, pressing evenly into the hands, walking them back a little bit to come into downward facing dog. Now, inhaling, you can release that left foot. We're going into that flip dog, so if you know it's not a fit for you, remember variation is just coming into your tabletop. You can always cross the left foot over from there if you choose. If you'd like the full flip dog, lifting that left foot up to the ceiling, bending at the knee, weight of the left foot pulls you over and around, floating those hips up towards the ceiling, reaching the left arm up. Hold for a breath. Exhale the gaze to the floor as you bring that left hand all the way back around, left leg stretches up. And then exhale, pull the left foot forward, stepping up into your low lunge, and then lift the hips enough so that you have space to turn the toes out to about 2 o'clock on the clock face. Inhale the hands up to the hips, float the torso up, coming into warrior one. Now your hips are going to be trending towards the top of the mat. Doesn't mean that they're going to be 100% there. But then as you exhale, bending into that front knee, your knee is trending towards your second and third toe. And the weight is evenly distributed between inner arch and outer arch, front and back of your back foot. Your hands can stay there, or you can reach them behind, interlace the fingers. This time the awkward hand on top, or fingers on top. Inhale, lift the sternum towards the ceiling. And then exhale, bow forward, humble warrior. Exhale to release the hands. Frame your front foot. Come to the ball mound of your back foot. And then this time we're going to go into it just a little bit differently. You're going to exhale, step that left knee down to the center of your mat. Bring that left hand to the center, and then pivot open so the left foot comes out back behind you, and the right foot is down flat on the mat. Inhale, reach that right arm up, and then push the floor away, coming up into gate pose. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, your right hand comes down to your right thigh, left arm comes up and over, and breathe into opening up the side body on the left side. And then inhale, reach both arms up. Exhale, this time the left hand comes down, right arm reaches up. So here's modified side plank. Perfect fit for those that want it. If you want to push into your foot and your left hand and slide that left foot underneath the right, you can come into full side plank, either keeping both feet there, or maybe you slide that right foot either to the calf or the thigh for fallen tree. One more breath here. And then exhale, gaze comes to the floor, release the hand and foot, come into full plank or lower the knees into modified plank. Take another breath here. Here comes that one push-up. Core is engaged, heels pulling to the wall behind you, tailbone pulling to the heels. Take an inhale, exhale, lower down. Inhale, push up. And then exhale, downward dog. We're going to step that left foot forward. Inhale to push off the right foot. You can either pull the knee up or maybe the toes just land right next to the left foot. Hands come to heart center. You can stay right here, or you can cross the right ankle over the left knee and then stay in standing figure four. If you would like to increase this just a bit, you're going to exhale, bring your arms out wide like wings. Slide that right foot down so that the toes are on the outside of the left foot. Inhale to bring those hands across the front. You're going to, this time, bring that left elbow over the right, either opposite shoulders or interlace those, intertwine those forearms, and then bring the hand up fronts of the fronts of the palms together. Now, you can stay right here, elbows reaching up towards the chin, hands reaching away from the forehead, or you can slide that right knee up, cross it over the left thigh, and then maybe the right toes tuck back behind the left calf as you lower your seat into eagle pose, remembering again, what is the vision? Where's the drishti? Find your gaze point, calm your mind, settle your breath. One more breath. And then exhale to unwind all of that. Come to equal standing pose, top of your mat. Stack your joints, lift the crown of the head, and then hands to heart center. Take an inhale. On an exhale, release the hands, blink the eyes open. Inhale to reach the arms up. Exhale, bring the hands through heart center and forward fold. Inhale and half lift. Exhale and fold. Bring those hands to the mat. This time you're going to step your feet all the way back, either into full plank or modified plank. And then as we exhale again, you're going to lower all the way down, this time lowering the torso all the way to the mat. Inhale to slide the hands forward, tucking those elbows underneath the shoulders, coming back into the Sphinx pose that we did briefly in our warm-up. Now offer a little bit of a hip flexor and quadricep opener. If for you, this is plenty enough, you're going to just stay right here, pulling the sternum towards the wall in front of you as your shoulders and your shoulder blades melt down the back. If you'd like a little bit more, you're going to bring that left hand over to the right. Right hand's going to come back towards your right hip. And you're going to inhale, float the right foot up towards the floor or towards the ceiling. Now, you're welcome to stay right here if you would like. Maybe you reach that right hand back for the front of the right ankle and start to move the right heel towards the right buttocks. Maybe the forearm, even up to the elbow, comes to across the top of the foot as you bring the fingertips towards the hip or the floor. Any one of those options, stopping when your body tells you to stop. Breathe here. And then exhale. Gently and slowly release. Bring the right elbow under the right shoulder. This time the right hand comes across to the left. The left hand comes towards the left hip. Now again, you can stay in Sphinx pose, or if you've had enough with Sphinx pose, maybe you lower down to crocodile, bringing the forehead to the top of the hands. If you would like to move on, you're going to bring that left foot up towards the ceiling. Maybe you reach that left hand back around towards the front of the ankle, and maybe you start to slide the wrist, forearm, even up to the elbow across the front of that left foot. And think about trying to flex that foot to protect the knee as you bring the fingertips either towards the hip or the floor. Doesn't mean they're touching, we're just moving that direction. And then exhale, gently, slowly release it, let it come down. Exhale to move those elbows out of the way, lower the forehead down. Maybe you take just a breath or two here if you think that it would feel good, or with the hands under the shoulders, toes tucked in, inhale, tight, engage the core, push the floor away, come back up, tabletop. Stepping that left knee towards center, lifting the right knee, crossing it behind the left, and then moving the toes out to the outer edges of the mat. Now, for some, right here, you're already feeling an opening across, especially across the left IT band. If that's the case, you can hang out right here, or you can lower down to your elbows and hang out right here. If you feel like you could use a little bit more sensation in this hip opener, you're going to start to walk your hands back so you can lower your seat down to the floor. Toes coming out from your hips and the knees. Ideally, you're trying to stack one knee directly on top of the other. So this is called cow face pose, thinking of your feet coming out as the ears. Now, not a fit for everyone. So if you're here and it's not working for your knees or your hips, or if that modified tabletop didn't work, another variation is to extend the right leg long and just cross the left leg. Whichever one you are in, you're just going to hold there and breathe. If you are in a seated variation, either both legs bent or one, if you would like to add the arms, you're going to inhale and we're going to go back into those cow face arms that we did in our standing series. So this time we're going to bring both hands back behind the neck and then release the left or the right hand between the shoulder blades. Bring that left hand to the elbow and think about pulling that right elbow up towards the ceiling, just encouraging it to open up a little bit. You can stay there or you can release the left hand. Maybe that left hand just comes again across the back waist, or maybe that left hand reaches for the right fingertips. Inhale, press the right forearm with the back of the skull. And if you like, exhale, maybe you hinge forward and feel a little bit more opening, especially in the left hip. It's not a fit for everyone. There's a lot of variations going on here. You just pick whichever one is the best for you. And once you've had enough with the arms, gently exhale to release them. And then just breathe into whichever variation of a hip opener you've chosen. If you're folded over, on an inhale, lift the head, walk the hands back. If you have one leg extended, you maybe want to swing both legs around to you at the side or push yourself up and we'll all meet back up in a tabletop. If you've been in tabletop, you're going to uncross your legs and we'll all come back together. Take a breath here. And then as you exhale, bring the right knee to center. Left knee lifts up and over, and you walk the toes out to the edges of your mat. Same variations. You might want to stay right here, just making sure that your core is engaged to help support and protect that low back. Or perhaps, again, with the core engaged, maybe you lower down to the elbows. If you have the space and there's not already too much sensation, maybe you lower all the way down to seated, bringing that seat between the feet. Now, again, being aware that we're not necessarily going to be equal and even from each side to the other side. If coming into this full cow pace with the toes out, knee stacked is not a fit, this time you're going to extend that left leg long in front of you, or push yourself up and go back into that modification of the variation of tabletop. There's no need to add the arm movement if you don't choose to. You can hang out right here instead. If you did the arm movement on the other side and you'd like to give it a try here, you're going to inhale the arms up and then exhale those hands back behind the neck. This time the right hand's going to release, come up to the left elbow, left hand comes between the shoulder blades, taking an inhale, encouraging that left shoulder up towards the ceiling, opening up the tricep. And then eventually, if you choose, exhaling that right hand either back around the back waist or moving those right fingertips up towards the left, and maybe they hook together, maybe they don't. Pressing the back of the skull into the left arm. Maybe you exhale and hinge forward. If you choose, eventually releasing the grip with the hands, letting the arms release. Breathe into the hips. And then inhale, push the floor away, walk the torso up. Now, if you are in one of the tabletop modifications or if you are in a one-legged cow face, either way, swing your legs around to one side or the other, come to a seat, and then eventually we will all lengthen our legs out in front of us and come to a seat on our mat. Lengthening the legs long, toes up to the ceiling. Lengthening the spine, shoulders away from the ears, crown of the head to the ceiling. Inhale, reach the arms up. And then exhale, bring those hands and land them anywhere alongside the legs as you start to hinge forward from the hips, keeping that spine lengthened. We're not rounding the spine yet. Now, we did this variation last week. If you choose, maybe you get a significant bend in your knees. Start to either walk your hands, your wrists, or maybe your forearms all the way up to your elbows underneath your knees. If that is where you are, you can keep the knees off the forearms if a deep bend in the knee is better for your low back and hips, or maybe you start to press the backs of the knees down onto the forearms, and eventually exhaling, tucking that chin in, lowering the forehead towards the knees in this variation of seated pike pose. Opening up across that upper back, feeling the opening on the backs of the shoulders, feeling the low back, the hamstring. Inhale the gaze towards the feet, soften the knees, so slide your arms out and lift the torso up. Taking an inhale, scoot yourself to the center, and then as you exhale, using this moment for one last core strengthener. We've been doing a lot of core here with all those planks and chaturangas, but if you want one last, you can either hands behind your knees with the knees bent or legs in straight in front of you as the arms extend. And then exhaling, lowering down one vertebrae at a time. Gently releasing the head down last. Now, if you are ready to go right directly into Shavasana right now, please feel free to do so. If you feel like a supine twist, one to each side would be helpful prior to Shavasana to help rebalance the spine. Go ahead and take that. And then as you finish that, eventually we will all meet back in Shavasana. As we all land in Shavasana, I invite you to take a nice lengthened full inhale in through your nose. Fill it up. And then exhale with the open mouth sigh. Do that again. Inhaling, filling up. And then exhaling. Eventually bringing a light seal to the lips. Focusing your mind, your attention on your breath. Maybe you notice that thoughts about what is coming next or what happened earlier in your day are trying to crowd in. That's fine. We're never going to stop our thoughts. But you don't need to attach to them, and you don't need to choose to believe the story that your thoughts are telling you. Instead, maybe you do a body scan, bringing your attention back to the physical body, back to the present moment, and acknowledging what your body feels right now. And then breathe into the body. You're welcome to stay in Shavasana if you choose to, and come out of it whenever you are ready. If you are ready to join me now in moving on, we're going to just start to bring movement to the body, whatever feels good in small ways. Maybe eventually inhaling into a long body stretch. And then exhaling as you roll over to one side, bringing your head to rest on your upper arm. And then inhaling, maybe you use your hands and upper arm as a leverage to push yourself up. Come up to a seated position. Hands can either be resting on your knees. Maybe you bring your hands to heart center. Continuing with your eyes closed if that feels comfortable for you, taking a nice long full inhale. Taking a moment to honor those who went before us and developed the system of yoga to help generations to rebalance body, mind, and spirit. Taking an inhale. Exhale to lower the chin, blink the eyes open, and namaste.
Thank you.